Welcome to this here thriving moment brought to you by the Sovereign Life Radio Broadcast Anchor FM, and made also available on 6 other different platform distributions. Live from North York, Ontario, Canada, I am your hostess, Reverend Maria Arvanitidis, and right out of Richmond Hill, Ontario, Canada, our very special guest with us here today, Randi Goodman.
Thanks for having me, Maria. I love what you're doing to help people and to put good out to the world. So thank you.
So nice to have you on here, folks. This is Randi Goodman, and today she's going to share with us on self-worth, resilience, and mental income. Now, for those of you who don't know Randi Goodman, she studied at the University of Toronto and is a 4th level certified management accountant. Went to Oreo Real Estate College and became a real estate guru, co-founder and author of the 365 Empowering Stories book series and Empowering Women to Succeed book series, events and meetup groups. Her conferences include workshops, podcasts, shows, the Women's Expo Action Think Tank Academy, Business Wealth Summits, and the Empowerment Radio Show. Randi, well, let me tell you a little bit more about Randi. Randi was born into the Goodman family in Toronto. November 1968, with her brother Richard and sister Stacy. Then 30 years later, followed by her younger brother Zach. Her father Phil is a Canadian born from Eastern European heritage, and her mother Mary is a survivor and a product of parents who had survived the Holocaust. Throughout the years, Randi had inherited her father's logical mind, and from her mother's reactive nature and emotional learning. From secondary schooling to graduating from the Seneca College in 1990, for the first time in her life, she got married and moved out of her parents' home on 16 acres of golf course land and over 8,000 square feet. A custom-built home was something that Randi had to learn and to manage on her own. The newly built pool quickly made her friends with all her neighbors. During those intimate years, her husband gave her 4 sons, and that they raised toward independence together. Before and after they were separated, her boys Joy, Benny, Daniel, and David Hemmelfarb. After 5 years of being pregnant, Randi had taken on a nanny for the kids and started taking up Shotokan karate, 2nd-degree black belt. In her late 30s, Randi started outgrowing her husband and feeling stuck in this relationship. So when her children were in school, she started volunteering in their classrooms and school trips. She became their chair of the barbecue committee and sat in on school councils. From there, Randi started volunteering for the Leukemia Charity and other organizations such as the United Jewish Association Walk, Variety Village, Hadash Bazaar, Hadash Huzo, years of galas for Europe, a celebration of women, team, foundation, $1 Million Smiles, list goes on and on. God bless you. So her favorite quote, is by her own. It's authentic, it's original, and from her experiences reflected onto us. Don't get swept up in the giving and forget about yourself. It's fine. It's a fine balance. And if you're not at your best, your healthiest, most optimum state, you're not able to give to anyone else. So when Randy separated from her husband at the age of 40, she started to explore on how to build an online presence and the interest of investing and networking with mailing lists of people to connect with. Volunteering led not only to her love of business, but also to her love of organizing and planning events. Would you like to know how to think differently and in the way that you can help others to achieve in their greatness, to learn how to be grateful by appreciating others in their contrast, and as you might have seen it from before, to help another? How do we relieve ourselves from inauthentic stresses to be able to breathe again? In as sovereign and valuably enlightened. For many years now, Randi Goodman has connected to her force and is with us to explain and share these many practices that would include learning how to remove emotions out of situations with logical thinking, and with these skills, the ability to nip stress in the bud and bounce back with resilience. Here with us today, Randi Goodman. Randi.
Wow, Maria, thank you so much for that humongous introduction. It's such a pleasure to be here and to share with people. And if I can add to what you were saying, I'm actually 1 year older than that, not to disclose, but yeah, I was born in 1967. So on Canada's 100th birthday, which is awesome. No, not to age myself or anything, but I also want to share what a 4th level CMA is. It means I didn't finish.
Oh, okay.
It means there were a few more credits that I had to get, but I kept falling asleep in tax. I just couldn't get through tax. So there was no way I was going to finish in time. They changed the rules. So just to be totally transparent there, so I have an accounting background, but I don't have a designation. I do have a diploma though, or whatever, from Seneca. And I'm also a real estate broker, which is my full-time gig, something I absolutely love to do. I've been investing for over 30 years, so I love that realm. And yeah, I just love the space that I'm in, and happy to share whatever I can to help, you guys out there.
So you have this thing in 2009, from hosting and producing your own business to building a foundation for future protocols and events. You started merging the business to business, and something became of it called B2Bs and trade shows. Can you kind of elaborate on that?
Yeah, so I ran a manufacturing company when I was 22 years old. So I was very lucky to have that experience and ran that for a few years. And it was just incredible. I fell in love with business. And of course I got into it because I had an accounting background. And it was so incredible. I really loved it. And then through my married years, I had been on a team of people who we were producing charitable galas, and we'd spend the entire year doing that. So I did that for years, and that was such an incredible experience to actually learn how to do charity events, but it was also business related because we had a lot of business people there and we had a lot of politicians there and whatnot. So getting that experience was so incredible because you really got to see and build from the ground up a nice big event with entertainment and food, and it was just incredible. So I fell in love with that, but I had already loved doing events because I had done so many of my own personal events with the bar mitzvahs for the kids and New Year's parties and whatever, birthday parties and all kinds of other things. And I just loved putting events together. So having that other experience was great because it just expanded on my own experience and knowledge. And when I separated, I was like, what am I going to do? I don't want to be a bookkeeper. I don't want to, I wasn't interested in that. And I'm like, okay, get out there and network and, figure out what I want to do. And I kind of fell into working with someone who was doing these little mini trade shows for business to business. And I thought, this is fun. So I took that concept and grew on it. So started adding in the conference element, tons of exhibitors. Then we added in the Coach's Corner expert idea, where people could get one-on-one sessions for 30 minutes for free at the event with an expert. They can learn from an expert on stage. They can go and schmooze in the trade show, new products and services, and network with people and find new joint venture partners and clients and whatnot. So we just kept building and building, and then growing a team of people who could help, because of course one person can't do everything alone, and it takes a village. And so, just with an incredible team, just keep building on these. And we actually celebrated our 10th anniversary Toronto Women's Expo last September. And normally it's a 1-day trade show and conference, but we added in a charity gala the night before so that we could also be giving back, because that's what Toronto Women's Expo is about. It's about giving back and making an impact on your community. So we wanted to celebrate people who are making an impact, and we gave out awards. We had nominations. We had, we had entertainment. It was just such an incredible night. So we had auction there, and we raised money for $1 Million Smiles. So that was the gala. So 100% of those proceeds went to $1 Million Smiles, and then part of the proceeds from the conference went there as well. And it was just such an incredible event. So I really loved to be able to merge two things that I enjoy and make a business out of it.
So you started this around 2009, 2010. And then as you were doing this, exhibitors, speakers, and attendees to come together and mingle amongst each other, you had already started, and you graduated from Oria Real Estate College and became the founder and CEO of Toronto Women's Expo and the Real Estate Developers Expo Inc. This was 2011, just to kind of get the rough idea of where we're at, because everything keeps merging and some people want to compartmentalize and exactly understand, or for all this to sink in. Because when I first met you, fast forward 2018, I had my very first booth for my business, and I had no idea what was going on, because everything was just overwhelming. All the very things, it was like going into an amusement park, the exhibition. And so, yeah, it takes a while to really kind of fully grasp and have it all sink in. And so, from partnering up with Rhonda Shulman to branching out alone and meeting up with Catherine Ann Clark, founder of Celebration of Women, I don't know, Team, TM what does TM stand for?
Trademark. She trademarked the name.
Okay, foundation, to merging forces with Gordon So in 2013. You also had a kind of rough going at it, 2-day expo at Downsview Park in 2012 that you experienced to be a real flop. But you just kept going, Randy, and persevering. And this is something we want to kind of reflect to the audience, for them to know that it's not just, all that glamorous that we see, the glamour. It's a lot of hard work behind the scenes, and perseverance and determination, and keeping the faith of our vision to keep moving forward with our will to enforce and connect with others and empower them, and so, you have been rewarded. 2013, personal growth invested, the victory of stepping forward, outcome with Toronto Women's Expo in January of 2014. With incredible speakers that stormed on the stage, and from these events started teaching live podcasting, blogging, and even book rating. Maybe we can go into your books, your many books that, I'm like empowering women to succeed. Tough times don't last, but tough women do. You started this in 2015. Wow.
Yeah, we started in 2014. The first one was published 2015. Yeah. So we would spend like a year putting it together and then launch. Yeah, it's fun. It's fun. So we produced, well, I was partners with Gordon for a few years, and then we amicably split because we wanted to go in different directions. But I've produced 6 Empowering Women to Succeed books, and one in 365 Empowering Stories. That's a short story one. I won't do that one
That's
again.
7.
Sorry?
That's 7, is it?
Yeah, yeah. And then I've helped somebody else publish their book. And we have 3 more of our own under Empowering Women to Succeed coming that we're working on now. And I partnered with Annie Osley, who's working with me to help more authors become published. And yeah, loving it. So, yeah.
So
Anyway,
sorry.
go ahead.
How do you do it, Randy? How do you do this? How do you achieve bestseller and bestseller international status? How is that even possible? You see, I see this Amazon, I see this seal here, this gold seal, best-selling author. Oh my gosh. And that was with your first Tough Times Don't Last, but Tough Women Do, Empowering Women to Succeed. This was your first.
Yeah, all of them have that status. Yeah, yeah. And we don't promise that it'll happen because we can't predict the future, but obviously our intent is to make that happen, and collectively working together, there's no reason why we can't make that happen. So, it is a compilation with various authors in each book, and we work together and leverage each other and make things happen.
So it's all about, finding your self-worth, which what you had to experience firsthand. And then, the resilience part of it. But before we even got there, your Empowering Women to Succeed Volume 2 discusses from burnout to victory. And it's exactly like your favorite quote that you actually made up as an advice to all of us. Don't get swept up in the giving and forget about yourself. It's a fine balance. And if you're not at your best, your healthiest, most optimum state, you're not able to give to anyone else. And this has great potency, and it kind of reflects on this book that you have, Volume 2, From Burnout to Victory. Do you want to elaborate a little bit on that book?
The concept of empowering women to succeed is people sharing their challenges that they've been through in their life, and they're not necessarily sharing every single challenge that they've had, because it is a chapter, not a full book. But they're sharing their experiences, they're sharing how they got through those challenges, and then where's that happy, successful place they are today. So when someone's reading the book, they're being inspired, they're connecting, they're resonating with the story, they're resonating with that person and saying, okay, I'm not the only one who's experienced this. Because quite often when people go through something, they think I'm the only one. And they don't realize there's people out there who experience the same thing, and they can share those experiences. They can help you through, whether it's through a book or talking to them directly or any other method. There's people that can be there to support you, and you don't have to do it alone. You can get ideas. So maybe the author shared some processes that they went through in order to get through their challenges, or to get back up after falling or whatnot. So when the reader's reading it, they're getting new ideas. They may even be reading something that they've thought of before and thought it wouldn't work, so they didn't bother trying, or maybe they tried part of it, didn't bring it to fruition, so they didn't get to the goal that they wanted, or they didn't get through that challenge. And this inspires them and lifts them up and gives them hope where they can do it too. Like, we're all just human beings. That's it. We're all equal human beings. So if one person can get through something, there's no reason why another person can't. And if one thing works for one person, it doesn't mean it's going to work for everybody, right? So reading different stories and seeing different methods, some people turn to faith, some people turn to a support network, some people go for counseling or therapy, some people have to take medication, some people, there's so many different things that people use in order to get through challenges that they have. Some people just have an inner drive that just drives them, they want to prove something to themselves or to somebody else. There's so many different reasons for getting through and so many different ways to get through. It's really interesting to see how people do it, how different people do it. And maybe one of those ways resonates with the reader, and the reader takes that and flies with it, and they're able to have the success and happiness in their life because they were inspired or they got an idea from something that they read. So that's why we do it. That's the gist of the storytelling in this type of book. And the different headings are just different headings that resonate with people. But the storylines themselves are still that concept of sharing those challenges. How did I get through them? And then where am I today? So the where am I today not only shows somebody that you can do it, you can get through, but it also sparks connection and business. And how can they keep growing? And how can they help someone else to keep growing? And what are they doing in their lives to do that? And when the reader reads it, they may want to connect with that person for friendship or just for questions or to do business or, refer them or whatnot, or learn more from them. So the tool is used in so many different ways, as a healing tool, as a sharing tool, as a giving tool, as a business tool. There's so many different ways that people use this. So the heading itself, whether it's from burnout to victory or bounce or leap or anything, any of the titles that we've used in our new one's called perseverance. And, any of those titles are all about getting back up. Like, don't just fall down and stay there. It's okay to fall down. It's okay to experience this stuff. We're going to throughout our lives. We can't avoid it. It's going to happen. But how do we deal with that? And how do we get back up? And how do we keep going? And where does that drive come from? And, and who do we surround ourselves with? So that's the premise of the series in general. And each book will have its own subtitle.
With Humpty Dumpty, I'm thinking, with them, okay, I'll tell you why. Empowering Women to Succeed, Volume 3, Bounce. You had also written, you also have a little chapter of your own. And I think with Bounce, you have something like Humpty Dumpty, and it reminds me of just falling off like the birds do and letting the thermals take them, and they're just soaring. And that kind of, but Humpty Dumpty never really broke your Humpty Dumpty. What can you further tell us about this chapter in Bounce Back? Was it in Bounce Back? It was, right? Volume 3?
Bounce.
Oh, Bounce, yes.
Yeah. And to be honest with you, I don't remember exactly what I wrote in each book, but the Humpty Dumpty concept is that, you're going to fall. You're going to fall. It's going to happen. You're going to experience challenges in your life. That's being a human being, and we can't avoid it. But how do you get back? So, like, you're talking about resilience, and you're talking about different feelings that people have and doubting yourself and whatnot. And when I was married, I really doubted myself. And it didn't just come from marriage, it came from before that as well. But always doubting myself and trying to do my best and being driven to prove it to whoever that I can do it. And I did really well in school. I did really well at anything that I put my mind to. But I still always had this thing at the back of my head. And when I separated, I was 40 years old when I separated, and going into the world and thinking, who's going to pay me? And what do I have to offer? And what skills do I have?
Are you legally separated?
I'm divorced.
Oh, so you are legally separated. Okay. Okay.
Divorced. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So, you have all these thoughts in your head, and you're not valuing yourself at all. And there's actually a really good friend of mine named Alex, who really kind of set my brain straight. We were doing a podcast. Well, at the time it wasn't a podcast, it was an interview. And it was really amateur. I made DVDs of it and everything, but it was pretty amateur, but great information, right? And just talking about, how to get started naked, basically. So when you're starting in business and you have nothing, you have no money, no list, no experience, no nothing. And how do you get started? And it was just a story of how to do that. And we ended up creating a podcast back then, channel for myself. And I've done over 300 podcasts, but that was my first one. We converted it into a podcast, and it's so amateur, and it's, the quality of the sound isn't great. And I mean, you can hear it and everything, but it's the information that counted. And you can hear, like, when you listen to my very first podcast versus the 300th podcast, there's a huge difference in, how you speak, how you ask questions, how you answer questions. Like, you grow, right? But you keep doing it. And he was the one who put in my mind that he couldn't believe that I didn't value anything that I knew. Nothing. And he couldn't believe that. And he was like, you have absolutely no clue how much you have to offer people. And he was right. I had absolutely no clue. I did not value anything. You have to take your life experiences. And there's probably lots of people out there listening to me and thinking the exact same thing, that they don't think they have anything of value to offer other people. But you got to look at your life experiences. What have you experienced in your life? I raised 4 children. Okay. Well, one of them is under the spectrum, the autistic spectrum, high functioning. There's all kinds of other issues with the other kids, like ADHD and all kinds of things. So the therapies and the, umpteen therapies, I'm not even going to list them all. The learning curve there, that's a huge experience, number one. Okay. Then you go into business and you're running a manufacturing company, or you're running some other business. That's huge experience. What did you learn from that? What kind of skills did you get from that? Going to school, what kind of skills did you get? Building relationships, having long-term relationships, what kind of skills did you build? What kind of problem solving skills did you build when you got into trouble with your parents growing up, right? Then, through marriage, doing 8 years of charity galas. What did I learn from that? There's skills that you learn, right? Then, getting a second degree black belt in karate. There's more skills that you learn. And I can go on and on and on, but you've got to, sit down and actually look at your life and look at what you did. All the charities that I used to volunteer for, even as a little kid, like, what are you learning through your life? You write it on paper, like, write down everything you've experienced. And then what did you learn from those experiences? And those things build up to who you are today. And everything that you know and do and who you are all those experiences you've had in your life. Write them down, write down what you learned from them, look at all those positive things, and then start valuing what it is that you have to offer and start offering it to people. Find something you're passionate about. You know, maybe one of those things in your life you're really super passionate about, and you can turn it into a business, or you can just have a hobby if you don't need to make money. But all these experiences that we have in our life help us to be who we are. And yeah, that's
There's so many levels to this. It's not just the ground level. And I've noticed this, like you can reinterpret it in so many different ways and add your formula or take on a formula from others. It can be on a karmic level. It could be on an emotional, electromagnetic, as you're saying, with the law of attraction, or it can be a total creator kind of do your own thing, like you're saying, business and networking. And the same thing is like when you fall, do you fall and you break like Humpty Dumpty with all your doubts, or do you fall onto the thermals and let it take you and just soar like an eagle? I
yeah.
don't know if that makes any sense, but you
You
know
know, you, you have to have some kind of drive. You have to have a big why. You know, if you have a huge why, like what is it that you really want in your life? If you have children, are you trying to set an example? If you don't have children, do you have an inner goal, a desire, something you wanted to achieve, and you're going after that and you're taking all the steps to get there? Like, what is your big why? And go after it, right? Don't just say, oh, I want to make money. That's my why. That's not a why. It's not a why. What kind of difference do you want to make in the world? What kind of difference do you want to make for somebody else? What kind of impression or mark on this world do you want to leave? And think about that. What do I want to leave here when I leave here? You know, what do I want to leave behind? What kind of legacy do I want to leave behind? What kind of talk do I want, about myself? How do I want to help people? How can I make an impact? Like, there's so many things that you can ask yourself to figure out what is that passion? What is that big why? What is it you want to accomplish? And go after that. But nobody can make you do it, because we can, just like the horse, we can lead you to water, but we can't make you drink it, right? So you have to want it bad enough, which is why I say, what's your why? Because if your why is strong enough, it'll drive you to go after your goal.
and
And if,
bounce is like creating ripples, right? This is what you're leaving behind, impressionable for others. And this is how you can connect. When you're bouncing, you're creating a ripple effect. We're all connected.
yeah,
So this is how, um, I really like this concept. And then with that, you had the book Leap Forward, and then letting go. So it's just amazing how we're talking about this now, looking at the bigger picture, letting go. That's how I see it.
mhm, yeah, you have to let go. If you're going to hold on to the past or hold on to trauma or hold on to negative things in your life, then good luck going forward. Like, you're always going to have this roadblock stopping you from achieving your goals and achieving success and happiness in your life. So you really have to be able to deal with stuff, to let it go so that you can move on. Otherwise, what are you putting out to the world? You're putting out to the world that you're not good enough, or you don't deserve it, or you can't do it, or, some other negative talk. And those things don't serve you. Those things don't help you go forward. If somebody hurt you in your life or a terrible trauma happened, you can be stuck there. And that's not a way to live or really enjoy your life. You want to be able to go forward and move on. And, we've got one life to live. We're not cats. So, let's enjoy it and do the best we can with it. And if that means being able to let go of something, then let's get the help in order to do that. So, and there's no shame in that at all. So some people may feel like, oh, I don't want to go to a therapist or a counselor. I'm embarrassed. Blah, blah. Don't be embarrassed. That's what they're there for. They're there to help you. They're there to serve you. They're there to help you get through it and to deal with it and give you some tools to help you so you can keep getting up, so you can leap forward, so you can bounce back, so you can, let go of the caca and leave your legacy. Is our next book. And then perseverance.
Wait a minute here. Oh my God. Just let's ground this. From empowering women to succeed, letting go now. Okay. This is volume 5. And now I'm going into the 365 stories of empowering stories. Can you tell us a little bit? Was this the next book after volume 5?
No, it kind of happened around the same time. And then we published volume 6 last year, which was Legacy. But yeah, 365 Empowering Stories was really a trial of seeing if we could do really short stories. So they're maximum 350 words, like a page and a half in the book. And I call them, like, they're not caca stories, but I call them toilet stories because you can sit down on the toilet, read a quick story, put the book down, and you're good to go, right? Or wake up in the morning and read a short story, get inspired for the day, and move on with your day. Or when you're going to bed, fill your head with something positive, a short, quick little story, go to sleep, wake up refreshed and happy and whatnot. So they're very short stories. It was a lot of work to do that book. It took a lot longer to publish than expected. And so I'm not going to do the short stories again, but I absolutely love the full chapters that people are sharing. I love those short stories because they're quick, inspiring, and, just like a rush of positivity into your day if you want to read a quick little story. But yeah, we had a lot of authors in that book. So, it was a fun one. Like I said, I won't do the short stories again, but, continue on with the longer ones. And I'm really honored and thrilled that we were able to publish all those beautiful stories and incredible people.
Sorry, what year was this #1 bestseller too? What year was this, the 365, that it came out?
2 or 3, maybe 2 years ago, 2 or 3 years ago.
Okay, so it was before the pandemic.
Oh yeah, yeah, maybe a year or so before. Yeah.
And then after this, you came up with the Legacy?
Yes. So Annie and I published Legacy together. And now we have Perseverance, which is the 7th book in that series. But we also added in Wealth Creation, which is more of a how-to to show people how they can build wealth in your industry. So you're showing more that you're an expert in your field and sharing the how-tos. And then we have Leaders with Impact, which is an oversized hardcover, full color, fully designed inside book with a nice huge headshot or body shot of the author at the beginning of their chapter. Something they'd be really proud to have on a coffee table, one of those kind of books.
Okay.
And yeah, very excited to be launching that. New idea, great concept, and full color. It's something that'll be really gorgeous.
So that's is 9 books? Is that 9 books?
Well, that'll be 9 in Empowering Women to Succeed. Yeah.
Wow. So, okay. So they all are empowering women to succeed with those titles.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Fun. It's a great community. You know, it's a lifting each other up community. And, you know, how can we give back? How can we, you know, Leaders with Impact is also taking a little bit of a twist on how people are making an impact in their community or on the world, and making sure that that is part of what the concept is. So,
Wow, Randy, you're certainly making an impact on the world and wowing us all with
thank
amazing.
you.
You do it all. Is like, I suppose it's all about coming together and forming a team and actually getting help too, not just, you know. And so the other thing, I'm just kind of like, okay. So what was I? There's just so many things. You have like a YouTube channel, and you have this thing called Park Bench. Are you still doing that? Where you
No,
interview people?
definitely not. No,
Okay.
no.
o-
Yeah, yeah. You can see all my interviews on my YouTube channel.
Okay. So what was that about? Or you don't want to talk about it, or
No,
not really that? Just
no.
wanting to get to know people in a different way, but it didn't really. Okay. So then let's talk about the meetups. Are you still doing the meetups?
I am. I was doing the meetups in person for a few years. And so once a month we get together in person. And that was awesome because, you know, the reason I started doing it is because when I'm at my events, I don't really get to sit down and talk to people, right? Because it's go, 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 do. And, you know, the day is jam packed. By the end of the day, I'm exhausted. So you're not really getting to connect with people. If you're a guest there, you're an attendee or you're a vendor or whatnot, then absolutely you're building all kinds of relationships. But that doesn't happen for me running the event.
Busy putting
So
it
I,
together, I've noticed. Yes.
yeah, so I thought, okay, well, how can I create something where I can network too, right? And so I thought, okay, well, let's do these meetups. We're in person, go meet together, get to know each other, and do it in a little bit deeper way. And then when COVID hit, we took it online. So we went virtual, and more people could join us because they didn't have to spend the time traveling. People who are a little farther away could participate. And just because you're far away doesn't mean you can't do business with people. So, you know, who are maybe an hour away from you. So there's all kinds of relationships that have been built through that. We get to network, we have breakout rooms, and it's different networking. Like we're answering certain questions that are getting a little deeper. And the point is to actually see how we can help each other. As opposed to just listening to a 30 or 60-second elevator pitch. I don't want your elevator pitch. I want to get to know you. I want to know, you know, and I take notes. I have booklets of these meetings and what people said and did, and, you know, what do they do in their life and what their business is about, and, you know, how can we actually help each other? So that's what it's about. I still host it once a month and it's virtual. And we get a really good group coming out. So yeah, if anybody's interested in joining us, all the merrier. It's free, there's no charge, and everybody's welcome.
Well, how can they connect? How can they connect to you? Is there an email that they can connect to you to join this meetup?
Yeah, so I don't usually share my phone number or email publicly, but if you go to my website at randigoodman.com, then you can download a free copy of The Secret to Wealth, where I have a chapter in that book. That's a book that was done with Brian Tracy. And once you download it, you'll be on my list. And then anytime we email out info about events, you'll be notified. So it's my gift to you guys. If you want to download a copy of that book, you'll automatically be signed up into my database and be notified of things coming up. I'd love to have you there. Thank you.
And do we have to be in Canada or in Toronto, or can we be anywhere around the world to participate?
Anywhere. If you can do business with people anywhere, then you're welcome to come. If you can't do business with people anywhere, then there's really no point. But you know, unless you just want to make a friend. But yeah, as long as you can do business with people, like some professions or whatnot are restricted to certain areas, like say an insurance person can't go outside of Ontario and do insurance there. So probably wouldn't make sense for an outside insurance person to come in because they're not going to be able to do business unless somebody in our meetup has a property in that area, then they might be able to do business with them. But chances of that are much slimmer. So, you know, as long as you can do business with people around the world, then feel free to join us. They can always get to me through the websites or social media, Facebook, Instagram. I don't really go on Twitter. We have Twitter, but I don't really go on it too much. So if you try contacting me there, I probably won't see it. And LinkedIn for sure. So LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook are big ones that I use. And if you want to reach out to me through social media.
So tell us more about how they can reach you for real estate.
dreamhomeswithrandi.com. You can go to for real estate, or on Instagram, Randi Goodman Broker. And there's Facebook, which is Dream Homes with Randi.
Okay, and celebration of women. Do you want to expand a little bit more on that and your affiliation to a celebration of women?
There's no affiliation. I just supported an old friend and just supported her years ago. Yeah, when she was very active.
Okay, and are you going to be doing any more charity galas and conferences, trade shows to come with the Expo Smiles, $1 Million Smiles? Are you going to be doing, I know the last one you had was September 27th, 2021 at the Paradise Banquet Hall. What do you foresee in the future? Anything upcoming?
Haven't booked anything. We will, most likely we will do one, but haven't booked it yet. Yeah. We were kind of waiting to see what would happen with the pandemic and whatnot. So yeah, we'll see in the future when we book it. I don't think one will happen this year. You know, was thinking about the fall, but not sure that's going to happen. So
now everything is back to normal again, is it? With the, yeah,
not quite.
like we're allowed to be released out into the wild again and yonder and
With limits. Yeah, with limits. I don't know. We'll see. So
like it never happened, right? Okay, so what did we learn from all of this? Is exactly what we're going to take from what Randi's been teaching us here. And I really appreciate. And in closing, it's been an honor to have you here, Randi. In closing, is there something you can shed the light on more on self-worth, resilience, and mental income, or anything else for that matter that you would like to, in closing, say to us?
yeah, you know, I coined the term mental income because of what I felt when I did things for others, even as a little kid. And it's, you know, you're not doing it because you're looking for that feeling. You're doing it because you want to help other people. But there is this feeling that you get when you do it. And so it comes for full circle, right? You're doing for others, but you're also doing for yourself. And, you know, the more you give, the more endorphins it produces in your body. You're just so elated and feel so good about being able to help somebody else. So anytime that you can do that, I would say go for it, do it. Even if you're doing it alone, just do it. You're not only making a difference in the world, making a difference in someone's life, but you're also feeding yourself too. And it raises your own self-worth and, valuing yourself. Uh, just take action and make a difference in people's lives, and do it your way. There's no right or wrong way to do it. Whatever resonates with you, make a difference. Do it your way, whether it's money, time, donating items, whatever it is, producing some kind of event where you can bring other people together to do it together, whatever it is for you.
But how do
Take
you say no? How do you say no? How do you stand up
no
and
to
say
what?
no and feel good about it? If you grow a lot of discernment with all the experiences that you've had throughout the years, and what might not feel right for you, how can you stand up and say no and then feel good about it?
Well, you have to look at what your goals and desires are. And if it doesn't fall within that, then sometimes you have to learn to say no, and it can be really difficult. I know it was for me the very first time, and times after that. It's not easy to say no, but you have to look at, you're saying no from love of yourself and love of somebody else. Because if you can't give it your all and you don't want to give it your all, then there's no point. If you're doing it because you're actually helping somebody, that's a different story. If they're in time of need, but otherwise you have to prioritize. What's gonna, let's say you're talking about business, something in business, and this is going to be a complete distraction, or the shiny coin, or the squirrel, whatever you want to call it. If it's taking you away from your goal, then why are you doing that? Why are you taking away from going after what you want to achieve? It's time, it's money, it's whatever. You're not going to be able to achieve it. You're being distracted elsewhere. Unless it's something that's going to help you get to your goal, then yes, say yes to it. But if it's going to completely distract you and take you away and not allow you to achieve, because at the end of the day, you have to put food on your table and a roof over your head. And if it's going to dissuade you from that, then you have to say no at some point. And it could hurt you more than it hurts the other person, because that's what happened to me the first time. It hurt me more than it was hurting the other person to say no. But I had to look at it logically and say, okay, if I do this, I'm not going to make any money from it. And then I'm also not going to have the time to go after these things that I want to do that hopefully are going to make me money. And you have to make a logical business decision and take the emotion out of it. Sometimes we have to make a decision without emotion, and you're not trying to hurt anybody. You're not trying to, and you can share all of that. But, sometimes it's not the right decision for you or for your business, and you need to say no. And some people say yes to everything like I used to, and it just totally takes you away from yourself. If you start valuing yourself and believing in yourself, you're going to start making the right decisions for yourself. And sometimes that means saying no to something. And, it might not be that you want to say no, but you have to look at it logically and say, does this actually make sense for me? And if it doesn't, then I'm really sorry, but I'm going to have to decline, right? Because I'm going in a different direction. And that's okay. It really is okay to say no. You have to do it the first time. You're going to be uncomfortable. It's going to feel yucky, but do it. And then you're going to value yourself. You're going to be happy afterwards. Might take a little while, but you're going to be happy about it afterwards, that you were able to say no and be able to stay focused and streamlined on your goal and what you want to go after. And I think that's really important. It was one of the biggest lessons for me when I hired a coach back in 2011. That was my biggest takeaway, was learning to say no so that you can stay focused. It was huge, huge. So yeah, big difference, Maria.
On that note, I would love to have you on again sometime, perhaps on for season 2, because I'm about getting ready to kind of close this season up myself and start on
Thank you.
other things. Yes, I would really love that. And it's been an honor and a real pleasure to have you here today. Thank you so very much, Randi.
Thank you so much, Marie, for having me on. It's such a pleasure to work with you and support you, support your audience, and be able to share anything that I can to make a difference in someone's life. So thank you for having me. I'm very grateful.